Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Gotham City Zoo. Today's exhibit features two 900 level players playing a 50-move game of chess where over 3/4 of it, that's like over 30 moves, was bad. Real bad. But actually, it was, believe it or not, it wasn't as horrible as it seems. You're still going to learn a lot, which is why I'm featuring this game in the How to Lose a Chess playlist. Before we get into the game, I'm sorry for wearing a tank top, muscle shirt. I've been going to the gym recently, preparing for a little bit of the, upcoming chess boxing competitions. That's not actually true. It's just super hot in New York, so normally I'm wearing classier clothing, like $5 hoodies that I get from H&M. But today, just figured I would throw this on because it's super hot. So our players cannot get any closer in rating. They are Connor and BGH, whose name has been shortened, from US and Canada. So US gets Statue of Liberty profile picture. Canada gets maple syrup because, stereotyping, I guess. The game begins with the move D4. And in typical 900 fashion, we see a London, which is fine, and we see a mirror London. So, believe it or not, the mirror London is one of the most annoying responses to the London. The London's a good opening, so when you get mirrored, really the only way to take advantage of this is white should use the advantage of the first move and play for E3 and C4. Not play for like a typical pyramid London, but to try to play for a Queen's Gambit style London, where then you can play moves like Queen B3. Because then what will happen is you will pressure the pawn like this and this. The computer, Stockfish, wants to now get exotic, sacrifice this pawn, and play knight b4 to try to go knight c2. This is what Stockfish is claiming is black's way of equalizing here. So instead of queen b3 right away, you also could play knight c3 and then queen b3. But in general, this Queen's Gambit into the London for black, in my opinion, is quite good at intermediate level. But in this case, we see this queen b3. The thing about playing queen b3 like this is that if the pawn is on c4, when queen b3 happens, you actually pressure the center more. Whereas when you do it this way, you don't have any other pressure. This is really the only threat. But so far, so good. I mean, listen, I don't hate it. Black plays the move b6. And now white plays the move bishop b5 check. Now, under normal circumstances, that's not a good move because you're just going to get hit with this move as was played in the game, and now you have to retreat your bishop. But believe it or not, and this is why you should not give checks where you're just going to get blocked by pawns, because now you just have to retreat, and white is going to have to bring the bishop back to this very passive square. But believe it or not, in this position, you can play bishop takes knight. I mean, it's an absurdly stupid-looking move, but it's removing the defender of this pawn. And if you just do a very quick calculation, bishop takes knight, if they take you, you take this. But if they take you here, your bishop is hanging, you take, and this is check. So white can actually win a pawn. So white is actually a genius. But white obviously didn't see that. So that's our first inaccuracy. Black plays bishop d6, and this is really the issue with the reverse London, is the position is incredibly solid, which is why I say you should play c4, because that way you will at least have something tangible to play for. But okay, bishop back to g3, hoping for bishop takes, h takes, and opening of the rook, castles, knight f3, and at this point, nonsense begins, all right? So I think what happened here is black wants to play knight b d7. Black cannot play that move because the bishop would take the bishop for free, right? And then that would really be a How to Lose a Chess episode. So instead of that, black moves the bishop back to e7. Why? Why wouldn't you just move the queen to defend the bishop and then this? That way you're not really making any backwards progress. So what I always like to tell people is, if you don't have to, don't go backwards. There's always going to be a better move than just going backwards. Unless you have to. You might be in check, you might be under attack somewhere. But if you just have a regular position, like for example in this position, going backwards by white, probably not the right move. Going backwards by white, probably not, going backwards. If you can go forward without really creating any problems for yourself, which is exactly what white does in this position, you should probably go forward. Except the next move by black. It turns out that the plan of bishop to e7 was to put the queen here. So black, completely unprovoked, loses the game. And walks the queen into the line of sight of the bishop. Which is kind of insane, because if you think about it, the bishops just stared at each other. Why would you replace the bishop with the queen. Now, white to move, moving the knight attacks the queen. Don't move the knight over here, because the queen will take, but knight g6, very simple move. And now you're just going to take the rook. It's a double attack. Knight g6, very simple. I mean, the thing is, if we go back a couple of moves and black played queen here, you would easily take this. But somehow, one layer of pieces later, people just miss it. I mean, a3 is obscene. You haven't castled, you haven't moved even your other knight yet. Why are you playing a3? For what? Like, why? What are you trying to, like, are you trying to play c4 and prevent queen here? You know, a3 could be a preventative measure. I don't know. Now the queen goes back to d8. So this is like, you know, you leave a 900 unattended, like you leave a puppy unattended outside of its playpen and you leave the house. It's going to destroy stuff. It's just running back and forth. Doesn't really know what it's doing. Now white plays knight d2. And now black plays... What? What is going on? Can we just get an instant replay? I'm gonna click back a couple of moves. This was the position several moves ago. Look at black's position. Now we are on move 12, and only white has made progress. White has made 3 forward moves. White now plays f4. So white is going for what's called a stonewall structure. This is actually a very decent structure in the London, and you can play bishop h4, removing the knight, and then maybe even continue with some sort of attack. But normally the queen is over there, and right now the queen is on literally the opposite side of the board. So black now plays knight e4, which is a decent move. White trades. White still has not castled. The best move here for white is to probably castle the king in either direction. However, white does his best impersonation of a super GM. Like I always say, you leave a super grandmaster in any given position, and they are going to play h4. Believe it or not, that's not even a bad move. That's actually crazy. h4 is shockingly not that bad of a move here, because black can't really do a whole lot to punish it. Black's position is sort of cramped. Now, what I would do here if I was playing black, I would trade the knight, and then I would trade the queen, and hope for a position that looks like this. Because if I can clog everything and removes white's queen, I'm never going to get mated. Like, you're not going to get the queen toward my king. My king is actually very safe now. He's feeling quite relieved. But otherwise, it's actually not easy at all to figure out what to do here with black. Again, because it's so congested. So black plays the move f6, which I think is... which is not a terrible move. I mean, you're just trying to kick the knight out, so the knight leaves. And now the bishop moves again. This bishop and this queen have moved back and forth like a million times. But it's very closed. So if I tell you right now, pause the video, find a good plan for white, okay? And my only hint to you will be the pawn coming here. If you pause the video and then you try to search for an answer, you would think that my hint means h5, but that's not what my hint means at all. White here plays an incredibly impressive move, actually the top engine move, which is why I said this game is nonsense, but we haven't even gotten there yet. So if you've lasted 7 minutes, good for you. It's longer than average. Bishop f2 is the move. The point of bishop f2 is that as depressing as this bishop looks, stuck behind all the dark squared pawns, the move g4 is coming. And once g4 is coming, the pawns will not stop coming. And then it's going to be long castles, and we're coming down the side of the board. And then you're just going to go for a very big attack, and that's it. You're just going to win the game. G4, F5, G5, H5, blah, 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 blah. And white channels his inner Stockfish, because after G4 and H5, white to move, he goes long castles. Long castles looks necessary because you've pushed literally every other pawn. But believe it or not, actually, I think short castles might even be safer. Let's see what Stockfish thinks. It disagrees. It thinks that, well, it disagrees, but it's because of an engine reason. It's because there's b5, knight d2, and then f5. And Stockfish is arguing that black has sort of thwarted white's attack, and there's discovered opportunities on the queen. So I'm not completely accurate. But what you're going to witness in the next couple of moves is, even though this evaluation is slightly higher, it is far more risky to castle on opposite sides. Why? Because the opponent now has a very clear point of attack. Whereas if you castle on the short side, it's not so simple for black to attack you. You sort of have cramped the black position mightily. But when it's opposite side, it's free-for-all. Total free-for-all. So temporarily, Stockfish says it's better, but we're about to find out. So long castles. Black plays h6. h6 looks like it prevents g5, which is kind of what you've been trying to prevent for most of the game. Absolutely right. Now the rook has been brought to this file. Now, what white would love to have is for these pawns to disappear. All right? And then the rooks would be wide open, so probably g5 or f5 are going to happen at some point. Black here plays an incredible move. When you are on the verge of being attacked on the side of the board, you have to strike back in the middle or on the opposite side, especially if your opponent's king is castled there. Especially, but mostly in the middle. And black plays the move e5. This is an amazing move. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the issue. Now white's pieces are tangled together, and it's not so easy to get out. All right? So white takes and is immediately losing. Here begin the blunders. Which is why I said castling this way and sort of leaving your king and queen over here, it's going to be very dangerous. All right? The best move here for white was to slide out of the pin, which is basically impossible. It's basically impossible at this level to be able to identify that the best move when you can take something like this is to slide out. It's still defended by the bishop. Now you go for this and you're going to take this. So why is this so bad? Because black's best move is not to take back as was played in the game, but PP on the PP. All right? Put pressure on the pinned piece. B5 and black is winning. Doesn't matter if you can wreck the position because black can go here and then take the knight on the next move. But obviously that does not happen. Black takes on e5. Now what white should do here is to shred it open with g5 so that when b5 happens, you have gh6 and now you are delivering a mating attack toward the king. At that point, if they play b takes c4, you have this, and this attack is just raging. I mean, rook takes g7, you have h7 check, deflecting the king away from the bishop, and a huge, huge, huge attack. So g5, this is the entire reason you put the rook here, right? What does white do? Takes back toward the middle again, and now it's not just -3 as it was several moves ago. Here it was -2.8. Now it's -6. I apologize, before the move bishop g5. Now it's -6. Why is it -6? Because here, and now we see the problem of castling on opposite sides. This, okay, just getting obliterated. Now there are weaknesses and a route to your king. And when this goes here, there's also the hanging bishop. So you've opened everything, right? It's just chaos. It's chaos on all three sides of the board. And it goes from +1, +2 to -7. It's -7 despite being completely equal material, okay? So white here realizes, oh, I'm in a little bit of trouble. What do I do? My knight is kind of under pressure. All right, I apologize. Black doesn't play knight takes e5. First of all, black plays here, which I can't really begin to explain, but black's position is so good, it doesn't really matter. So this pin is still here. b5 is a threat. This is pressure, right? What does white play? White unpins themselves, so white gets out of the pin. That's what I was describing. Now black plays knight c5. So every piece is rolling forward, and the tide of the game is completely turning. All of black's 4 active pieces are, maybe 5 if this bishop moves. White retreats, and as I've been saying throughout this video, if you don't have to retreat, you probably shouldn't. What I would play here with black is probably knight d3. Force this in here. This is just a permanent problem. And then slowly add more pressure. Maybe try to get in over here, right? Try to get in on this side. Take this bishop, etc. Black plays bishop e6. The threat of bishop e6 is this attack on the bishop here. White does not see that and takes the free pawn. I mean, white had a very simple game plan. Me attack pawn, me attack pawn, me take pawn. White does not care about anything else that's happening in the position. White just wants to take the pawn. We have knight e4, queen e4, rook f2, and black is completely winning. The white attack is completely thwarted. There is absolutely no hope here for the rooks whatsoever. Rook e2 is coming. The queen will get in. Black is also threatening to win a rook. Black is threatening to win a bishop. But it's hardly over. Queen c6. Horrible move. It's now -10. But it's -10 for a move that's so absurd. Here's why it's -10. It's not this, because then king b1. So to prevent king b1, the computer says bishop a2. And it's -10 because that's it. You cannot defend against the attack. The king no longer can escape out this way. The king is stuck here, and there's nothing that can be done. You can give a check, and then you can... but the best move is king h8 here. Because after this, there's queen d2 and mate. It's insane. So black here, again, if you don't need to retreat, don't. This is wrong. Do not play bishop d7. Why? You're up material. Take with check. Take the bishop. All right? White now has to retreat. So white plays queen d5 check. Black puts the king on h8, and white plays bishop d3. Do you see white's idea? The idea is the weak king. In chess, the two most important things are material and king safety. When you're down material, you might as well go for the king. If you can't go for the king, I don't know. But in this case, you can. And black has extra material, and also white's king is a little bit suspicious. Now, black here plays queen f8 and loses the game. From -5, -7 to +2, that's just a free bishop. It's just free. All right, it's just free. And now your patience will be rewarded. Thank you for making it 16 minutes into this video, because what you're about to witness is nothing short of spectacular. Queen e4. Blundering back to equality, because this mate is actually quite annoying. It's very difficult to stop. Black has to play super passively. What does black do? Loses the game. It is now +5. It's +5 if and only if white plays rook f1. The point of rook f1 is trying to deflect the queen off of the defense of that rook. And the other thing is you win the f-file. So now queen h7 is just mate. It's just mate. The only way to stop it is to sack the queen and run. So rook f1 is a beautiful move, trying to win the control of the f-file. There's also e6. What does white play? White gives a check. King goes back. We repeat moves. We repeat moves. And now white loses the game to black. Black is now winning because black can get the rook out of the line of sight of the queen and pin the pawn to the queen. Classic right triangle, as Hikaru would say. And defend. But obviously, that doesn't happen. Queen e7. Queen e7 shoots the bar back up because even though this can't be taken, the rook can. The rook that's been defended the entire game by the queen does not get taken. Now white plays rook f1. How does white play rook f1 now, but not 3 moves ago? All right, black takes on f1. Rook takes f1. The game is now +5. It's in white's sights, right? Rook f7 is coming. Bishop d3 is mate, and it's actually not stoppable. Black plays rook to f8. The game is over if you play rook takes, queen takes, and pawn takes. If you play takes, that's it. Because I cannot stop you. I just cannot stop both of your intentions here. I just can't. There's nothing I can do. Black has lost it all. All right? Rook f8 played, +15 advantage for white, which white throws away immediately, and now black is winning. Black is winning because white wants to give mate so bad, but doesn't realize that after rook takes f1, bishop f1, there is no mate. And I take, and that's it. I'm just up a bishop again. So we have bishop d3, rook f1 here. Black just played rook f8, trading rooks in a losing way, and now is winning and plays g6, and now it's +7 again. It's +7, and now, again, rook f8 and pawn takes, or rook f8, queen f8, and takes g6, and then takes g6 played, and white completely forgets about the rook and takes with the queen. And now the rook can take the rook again. Rook takes rook, deflects the bishop away. Queen g7. And now white's biggest advantage of the game, mate in 2. It's mate. The queen stops this. Rook, takes, and mate. It's just over. Now we decide to take the bishop. Okay, it's +3. It's not mate in 2, but it's +3. Rook f1, trade the queens. Queen takes g6 play. Now, if you play rook f8 here with a check, it also is fine. But we have h takes g6 and king to g7. And finally the roller coaster can end. We have rook f8, king c2. You cannot take this because this queens, and this endgame is completely winning for white. Why? White has 4 extra pawns. Believe it or not, white has 7 pawns. Black has 3. I got hiccups from this game. White now plays e4 and e5, deflecting the bishop from the promotion square, and e6. But this game would not be complete without one final plot twist, as black confidently moves the king in front of the bishop and allows a queen, which does not happen, and white moves the bishop instead. I mean, you've just spent your entire endgame trying to deflect the bishop off the promotion square. You don't queen, but it's okay. And by the way, here, you don't sneak this pawn in either. G7, and it just can't be stopped. Instead, white brings the king. But white brought the king for good reason, because as horrible as this game was, it wasn't actually that bad, but there was a lot of blunders. White decides to end this game in style by bringing the king forward all the way and checkmating black with a pawn.